Welcome to Game Theorem, where we have serious discussions about absurd entertainment.
You remind me of Patient 13225, only you make less noise when I stick things in you. Edward Richtofen, the Butcher.
That's what she said.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I'm Kyle.
I'm Kira.
And today we are talking about Call of Duty. It's our first Call of Duty episode.
Yep.
So we figured naturally we would talk about the best part of the Call of Duty franchise, the zombie part.
Yes.
And I know a lot of our fans have been looking forward to this because when it comes to my YouTube channel, that's pretty much all anyone cares about anymore. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I've kind of gotten out of the zombie franchise. So that's why, we're doing podcasts and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But this is for you guys, so I hope you enjoy. But when we were thinking of doing this episode, what, Kira?
I was just going to say the reason everyone is obsessed with this on your channel is because of your 12-part series explaining the entire story.
Yeah, and that was a revamped version of an earlier one. Mm-hmm. Basically, this is a series that had a lot of deep lore into it, and like a storyline and narrative and whatnot. And it was the kind that you have to really figure out. They made you work for it. Mm-hmm. So I tried making an easily digestible version online. My first one got millions of views. Mm-hmm. But that's why we're not going to do this episode like we normally do. With most of our deep dive episodes, we usually go chronologically from like the ancient past to the far future, that kind of way. But I've already done that with the Zombie Trilogy documentary.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, you helped me with that. I forgot.
Yeah.
Sorry, you came in near the end after I'd already been working on it for so long. Mm-hmm. But, so if you want to see that, go ahead. You can find it on our YouTube channel somewhere. And, I mean, sure, it's a little outdated, and we'll get to why that is later, because, the game keeps going on. There are new entries in the franchise. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to talk about zombies from a chronological, real-world perspective, which is a bit different than our usual MO, I guess.
Yeah, usually we go deep into the story in-game, but we've already done that. And
as someone who's been with this franchise from its very inception, I think it could be a very interesting manner to talk about the subject and content. Mm-hmm. And, it won't take 12 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so you ready for this, Kira? Mm-hmm. Do you want to explain your background with the game?
I used to play zombies with my brothers because they liked Call of Duty and they had the game, but I was always so bad at it that they didn't want me to play with them much because they could get further without me.
It was literally the first game that was a first-person shooter that I had ever played. I learned how to play a first-person shooter by playing zombies. So I have these habits when I play first-person shooters that I inherited from zombies. For example, anytime I'm playing a first-person shooter and my gun is not reloaded and there's not an immediate threat in sight, reload immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what you do in zombies. You never want to be caught without a full load in your gun. Mm-hmm. Even though in other games that may not necessarily be the case.
Yeah.
Some games will even penalize you if you reload too often.
Yeah, and they make you throw away whatever bullets you have left.
Which is more realistic, so I kind of give them props for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, So, we wanted to talk a little bit of background about Call of Duty's history. So, and on November 6, in 2007, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was released by the company Infinity Ward. Mm-hmm. This would be the game that redefines the first-person shooter genre, redefines what Call of Duty is. It created most of the modern mechanics.
Oh, I see.
It is considered probably one of the best video games of all time. I remember the Smithsonian used to have a video game exhibit. I don't know if they still do, but this was the only FPS or modern game on there. Most of the other stuff was Nintendo or Pac-Man. Portal was there, actually.
Oh, really? That's cool.
I don't know if it was the first or second one. Whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's where we start off, right? But then Activision, the company that owns Call of Duty, decided, let's get another company in here instead of just using Infinity Ward, and we can have them alternate. Mm-hmm. That way they can release a game every single year. Call of Duty is the annual video game franchise.
Yep.
This is when that starts, because in November 11th, 2008, Call of Duty World at War was released. Mm-hmm. Now, You may know that when Call of Duty World at War was released, it took place in World War II. And there was a bonus mode that was released with the game, one that would redefine zombies forever. Do you know, Kira, what bonus mode the new company Treyarch, or the new to Call of Duty company Treyarch, decided to incorporate in the game?
Nazi zombies.
No, actually, German defense.
What?
Yes. They finished making the game somewhat early, so some of the staff had extra free time. So they decided to use that free time to make a bonus mode that would happen after you complete the main story of the game. The game you play as an an American soldier and a Russian soldier. Mm-hmm. After the end of the game, on D-Day, when the invasion of Normandy, in German defense, you would play a German soldier, a Nazi.
Oh, wow.
And you would play in the small fort as waves and waves of American, Russian, British allied troops would storm the fort. And they would get harder and harder. And you would have to try to fight to survive. And no matter what would happen at the end, eventually they would bust down the door and an American soldier would shoot you in the face.
Wow.
The idea, however, was completely scrapped because Activision was uncomfortable with letting you play as a Nazi.
Oh, wow.
So they reused the mechanics they already had, the wave idea, the fort, and they made something called Nazi zombies.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's cool. I did not know that Nazi zombies started as German defense.
There's a few different eras of the Zombies franchise. This is the first era, its incarnation. It was created by a man named Jesse Snyder. Mm-hmm. He was an employee of Treyarch. And he was the guy that was involved with a lot of these ideas. Mm-hmm. In fact, you know the ray gun, the unique weapons that's just kind of iconic of zombies?
Yeah.
There was a weapons artist named Max Porter. And he was tired of making World War II weapons that all looked the same. So in his free time, he made a ray gun. Jesse Snyder looked at him and was like, that looks amazing. Let's put it in the zombie level.
Oh,
and
wow.
so they did.
Wow, that's cool.
They would even later name a version of it after Porter.
Oh, that's really cool. I did not know that.
Also, the game has these power-ups, which, because it's like an arcade, you're killing zombies and everything, but you have these power-ups that affect gameplay, like double points, insta-kill, max ammo, right? Mm-hmm. And kaboom, nuke. Mm-hmm. Those are the four main ones. Originally, they just had placeholder stuff, like insta-kill was a crow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just reused models.
Wow.
And they had a lot of fun playing it. Eventually, they ironed out the details. And as you realized, it's Nazi zombies. So the idea was that you're in Germany and Nazis are rising again as zombies and you have to kill them again. Mm-hmm. We should have an episode over killable people, but Nazis and zombies, they just combine them together.
Yeah.
So, and that's in my opinion, because, Nazis can be a really offensive and touchy subject. But as long as you're saying, we should kill them, I think, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do to genocidal racists? Well, you kill them.
Yep.
As zombies. Mm-hmm. While in a fort. Oh, I forgot to mention the mystery box. That was directly inspired by Mario Kart, just so you know.
Oh, really?
Yes. It randomly gives you a weapon and whatnot. The game is very arcadey. That's why I loved it. It was just fun to play.
Yeah, it was fun.
So, eventually, like most Call of Duty games have, they had DLC, downloadable content, right? Mm-hmm. So, in March 19th, 2009, they had Map Pack 1, which came with a new level called Verrückt. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, I should have mentioned this. I didn't mention what the name of the actual Nazi zombie level was.
What?
The first level that came with the game, that fort, the actual name of it was Nacht der Untoten.
Oh, okay.
And that's German for Night of the Undead.
Oh, cool.
Now, one thing you'll notice what they did is because this is like a historical game, even though they're fictionalizing with zombies, they named each level after the language of the area in which it was located. So since it takes place in Germany, the name is it's like Night of the Dead from zombie movies, but now in German. Uh-huh. And Verrückt it takes place in an asylum. It's German for crazy.
Oh.
And I think that's really clever. It's a way to build in the setting and the culture into the level. And yeah, it's a terrifying asylum where so much abuse happened, and now there's zombies there.
Yep.
You play as these Marines that are just trying to survive. Now, in June 11th, 2009, Map Pack 2 was released. And that's when we got the level Shino Numa, which is Japanese for Swamp of the Dead.
Oh, wow.
Now, this was a level where they first introduced actual playable characters. They spent some time actually building out the story, although it was bare bones, almost nothing there, but you at least had characters. So we were introduced to the 4 characters.
The American,
Yes.
which is Tank Dempsey.
Yep.
The Japanese dude, which is
Takeo Masaki.
Takeo Masaki. Yeah. The Russian, Nikolai
Belinsky.
I don't know their last names. And then the German, Richtofen.
Edward Richtofen.
Edward Richtofen, okay.
So you'll see that they actually went back on their decision to not play as a Nazi because Richtofen is a Nazi. The really brilliant thing about these characters was that they represented each of the main factions during World War II, both Allied and Axis powers.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
In fact, I cite this as one of the very few examples of where it's somewhat understandable to not have a single female playable character. Because we've really gone off in previous episodes about Call of Duty and not having playable women, right? But I feel like in this case, it's kind of understandable because it takes place during World War II when almost all the soldiers were men. And they each represent a different faction during World War II. So I really understand it. And I'm not trying to necessarily defend it because obviously still having women would have been better, right? But I get what they were going for, and I'm not going to get all that upset about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I mean, people began to love these characters, even the Nazi, just because of how ridiculously crazy he was.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the quotes we set up the top of the episode.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a scientist or, one of those butcher doctors.
Oh, yeah, he was a doctor.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a sociopath as well. So then, in August 6, 2009, the last one, Map Pack 3, was released, and it came with a level called Der Ries, which translates from German into the Giant. It was the secret wonder weapon Nazi factory. It's rumored to have existed in real life.
Oh, okay.
Although by the time any Allied forces got there, the whole thing was burned down. And this is where a lot of the backstory in the franchise comes from this level. This is where they actually started incorporating a backstory of how these characters got there. They did this in the form of like placing things throughout the level for you to discover.
Ah, I see.
But it was still ultimately that arcadey type of game, but you can now find some backstory while you're playing the game. And I felt like this was interesting environmental storytelling.
Yeah, I like it.
They also had some wonder weapons.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, by this time they had not only the ray gun, they had, do you remember what the other one?
No, what was it called? The Wonder of it?
The Wonder Waffle?
The Wonder Waffle.
No. It's called the Wunderwaffe DG2.
Wunderwaffle.
It's German.
Okay.
It's a lightning gun.
Okay.
And interesting enough, a bit of a note, when you upgrade it, because this level introduced the idea of upgrading weapons, became the Wunderwaffe DG3JZ.
Oh.
JZ were the initials for an employee that was helping work on this level named Jimmy Zelensky.
Oh, cool.
So they named it after him. They then began working on Map Pack 4. And Map Pack 4 would include a level called Kino der Toten, which is German for Cinema of the Dead. However, Activision then scrapped plans for an additional Map Pack. This is why this game only has 3.
Oh,
so that level never made it out.
Oh.
Skip ahead to November 9th, 2010. That's when Call of Duty Black Ops was released.
Oh, yeah.
And they decided, instead of actually making a level, they would just reuse Kino der Toten that they never got a chance to use before. So they reincorporated that one, and that's the level that comes with that game. Because they simply just reused the level, they did have time to actually make an additional level, and so they did. They introduced a secret zombies level that, just like before, you could only get once you completed the main story. Do you remember what that level is?
5?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Which level's your favorite, by the way? Is it one of the ones we've mentioned so far?
Oh,
Yes or no?
I have. It's hard to say which one is my favorite.
I thought 5 might be.
No, are you kidding me? No.
Okay, it's my favorite.
It's your favorite. I didn't like 5.
I like the historical significance because in 5, you play as John F. Kennedy, President, Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, Senator Richard Nixon, for some reason, and then Prime Minister Fidel Castro, who was coming there for a meeting. And you have to survive in the Pentagon facing zombies.
Yep.
So that was really cool. What else? There was an enemy in that level called the Pentagon Thief. He was a bit of a mystery at the time. No one had any idea. Like there were theories all over the place. Because by this point, now that they have instituted the idea of finding background storylines in the levels, people start really looking for them. And in Der Riese, they had established the idea that the reason that we're doing all the zombie surviving is because there's essentially this ghost of a little girl that's haunting the playable characters.
Oh.
And she was the daughter of one of the scientists of the Nazi project.
Oh, okay.
Her name is Samantha.
And this game also included all the levels from the first one, right?
If you got the pre-order edition.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I'm assuming you did?
Oh, yeah. It was the only pre-order edition they ever released that was worth it.
I agree with you, but didn't they release the maps later on anyway?
Yeah, but it was like a year later.
Oh, I see. Fair enough.
I think that's an appropriate time. More so, really. I just don't like it when they claim something is exclusive and it's obvious they're lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't need exclusivity. Like that. If you expect exclusivity as part of a selling point to buying something, you're being a little elitist, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think a temporary exclusivity should be elitism enough for you. You can feel special for a little while and then move on while everyone else catches up.
Yep.
Anyway.
I actually really liked Kinu der Toten. That's the one we survived the longest on, wasn't it?
Yeah, when we play, I think we did pretty well on that one. It's a fairly easy level. So 5, it was just called 5 because it was the first level to take place in America. Therefore, the language is in English. So 5 is English for 5. For like 5 sides, Pentagon.
Yep.
So then in February 1st, 2011, the First Strike DLC pack was released, which came with a new level. Now, what really annoys me is they stopped doing the language thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really liked that. And I mean, I've indicated that already this podcast, but they stopped doing it. The level was just called Ascension, even though it took place in like the middle of Russia.
Oh, wow.
At the Baikonur Cosmodrome. So I did my own translation of what the name should have been. What I think it should have been, the translated version.
Yeah.
Should have been in Russia. So you should have called it Vozhostenia.
Okay.
Which is Russian for Ascension.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry for my pronunciation.
It's okay.
And like I said, in that level, you're in a Cosmodrome. I can't believe I didn't mention Group 935. So let me back up for a minute. That Nazi project was run by an organization called Group 935. They had a contract with the Nazis. They were essentially a scientific research institution that had been corrupted by the government. And they are the biggest like shadow organization in the entire series. They will keep coming up, or at least different versions of them.
Yeah.
But Ascension, like Richthofen, Edward Richthofen, the Nazi, he was a member of that organization.
Yeah, that's how he got involved in all this. And isn't that how he got the technology they use to teleport around?
Exactly. Yeah, because they invented teleporters.
Yeah.
He was the one who did it. Against his superiors' wishes. Because they were like, how could teleporters win the war? Which, I mean, come on, it's obvious, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Ascension deviated from that storyline. Took place 20 years later after the Americans and the Soviets were cannibalizing Nazi technology. So they were picking up after the pieces of this organization. The next level was released in May 3rd, 2011 in the Escalation DLC pack. It came with a level called Call of the Dead. It took place in Siberia, but the entire thing was like a movie shoot.
With all American actors.
Exactly. In fact, they picked horror movie actors.
Yeah, I know.
The director was George Romero.
Who directed the original Night of the Living Dead.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I should also mention that the entire history of Black Ops here, not so much Kino der Toten, but starting with 5 onwards, we are in the second arc of zombies.
Oh, with the story.
Yeah, the first one was led by Jesse Snyder, who did all the World at War stuff. But remember that guy, Jay-Z, I told you about? Jimmy Zelensky?
Oh,
not the famous one.
He's the one who did the second arc?
Yeah.
Okay.
He became the one in charge of it. Whereas Jesse was known mostly for his mystery, Jimmy was known mostly for being a troll. Anytime anyone asked him questions about, like, what's the story like? He would give answers that were just completely trollish.
Wow. Okay.
Wouldn't give a straight answer to anybody. I should also mention that Ascension was the level that first had a sort of quest built into it. It was completely arbitrary. It did absolutely nothing. But you could do it for a little bit of extra story. Now, in Call of the Dead, you play as Sarah Michelle Gellar from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Robert Englund from...
Night of the Living Dead?
No, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, Nightmare
Freddy
on
Krueger.
Elm Street. I didn't know.
And then Danny Trejo
Yeah.
from Machete.
Okay.
And Michael Rooker, you know where he's from?
No.
The Walking Dead.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that because I never watched the TV show.
Don't.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
The comics are way better.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
We should do that sometime.
What?
Something on The Walking Dead.
Yes, but we should do the comics. They don't take that long to read because,
If we did the show, we'd just probably bashing it over and over.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Call of the Dead was an interesting level. It took place in Siberia. They had the first really extended quest, one that was built into the game from the ground up. And when I say quest, most people call these Easter eggs. But look, I'm putting my foot down on this. An Easter egg is a small cameo, okay? A huge, extremely long quest where you press different buttons and triggers across the level and have to spend 3 hours performing it. That's not an Easter egg. That goes against everything an Easter egg stands for. That is by definition a quest.
All right.
It's just not a good one because it's not fun to do. It's work. They make you work for the story.
Yeah.
By this point, Richtofen and his friends were stuck in here, and the quest is freeing them. And then all the actors die. Yay.
Oh, really?
Supposedly.
They leave him for dead?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
So the next level was released in June 28th, 2011 in the Annihilation DLC pack. The level was called Shangri-La, which is the British term for the mystical place in the Himalayas.
Oh, wow, really?
So I think it should be called the Tibetan term Kembalong. I hope I'm saying that right.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
But it takes place in like that mystical place. They have a lot of the Vril Ya kind of association, which is like they really start playing into the occultism. They already had Nazism and obscure experiments. Then they had Soviets. Now they're going complete occult.
Yeah, I did not like this level.
It's a really hard level.
Yeah, it was really difficult.
Very tightly packed.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was all right. It was fun. Black Ops, I think, were the best levels. I think everyone agrees with that.
Oh, yeah.
They just felt like they had a lot more soul and character put into them. I mean, Jimmy, for the troll he made something well.
Yeah.
Although, of course, I'm always going to prefer Jesse for his original levels. Those were the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have a lot of nostalgia for, like, the first level because that was the one I played with my brothers the most.
The quest in Shangri-La is also notorious for being one of the hardest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the rewards being very pitiful.
That's dumb. Are we going to go on to the next level?
Sure.
All right.
On August 23rd, 2011, the final DLC, the Resurrection map pack, was released. This was one more than people realized they were going to. Because, again, this is the fourth one. And the company Treyarch has a very rocky history with whether they will release a fourth one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's always kind of like a maybe, maybe not situation.
And this is the remade ones of all of them, as well as...
Yeah, they remade Nach der Untoten, Verrückt, Shinonuma, and Der Ries.
Ah, yes. Okay.
They also made a new level with this one called Moon.
Oh, yeah.
Again, the whole language thing, they should have called it Luna.
Oh, yeah.
They had even used that word before in previous levels. It would have been a nice callback to that. But this is about the secret Group 935 base on the moon.
Oh, yeah.
Because basically, once they invented teleporters, they didn't have to actually fly up there. They were able to make their own secret base. And when you start the level, do you remember how you start it?
Yeah, you start it basically in their base on Earth.
No, Area 51.
Oh, yeah, Area 51 on Earth. And it quickly gets very crazy, and you have to teleport to the moon base, and that's when the level actually starts.
Exactly. And the quest in this one, I think, is often considered the best one because it has the most story ramifications.
Ah, I see what you mean. Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Because in the quest on this one, you have to do a million different little annoying arbitrary tasks. Eventually, it ends up culminating in delivering enough power to this pyramid alien structure. This is related to like the Vrilya and the occult. They call it alien, but it's more like ancient alien. So, yay. But they end up giving it enough power, and they find out that that girl who was a ghost wasn't actually a ghost at all. The backstory, the radio messages in this level explain that she had accidentally tapped into the device and was inside the pyramid.
Oh, yeah. All right.
And that gave her a sort of ultimate power that was like, but from the ancient aliens. The Vrilya. So she taps into that, and she's able to control the zombies, and she's been trying to pick on Richtofen because he's an evil Nazi, and Richtofen and her father were at odds.
Oh, I see. That's why. Oh, okay.
But you find out that her father, Maxis, is still alive. He preserved himself in the computer mainframe as a sort of magic AI, like there's some pseudoscience, but basically an AI. Like his soul got in the machine.
Yeah, okay.
And then we watched Ghost in the Shell, and I'm just kidding. Anime version. I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically in the quest, Richtofen and Maxis have like a little spat. Richtofen ends up revealing his ultimate plan, that this had all been for one goal, which was kind of weird. But basically everything that you've gotten over the previous quests and all the levels, he puts into the pyramid. He uses it to swap souls with Samantha.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because, pseudoscience, occult. So he becomes the little girl. She becomes him. And you get to play as Samantha now.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
She's like a demon version of her normal childhood self. So she's like, I really like the big knife. Stuff like that.
That's really creepy.
Then Richtofen takes charge of the zombies. He makes them a lot more whimsical and kind of funny, in my opinion. So like previously, whenever you went to the mystery box and there was a sale going on in the mystery box where you would get a random weapon, it would go like ding, 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 something like that.
Yeah.
But now with Richtofen, it goes din, 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 din.
That's funny.
And he's the one doing all the power-ups now. So like previously, whenever you got a max ammo, you would hear from Samantha, max ammo. Now you hear Richtofen going, max ammo.
That's funny.
So he tries to control the entire world and bring humanity to its knees.
Yeah.
Maxis is like, no, don't do that. Please fire this missile. And so you're like, okay. So you fire a series of missiles at the world and you blow up the entire planet, leaving a wasteland.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, I explained quite a bit of that story because there was just so much in that quest. So even though it's a bit arbitrary, sometimes you want to do it just to see what happens.
Yep. That's wow. That's pretty freaky.
I should also mention that in September 27, 2011, There was a patch that added a perk. We haven't really talked about what perks were because we're not going over every single gameplay mechanic. But they were like drinks that could give you superpowers.
Now, which one of these levels was the one where you launched the ICBM to get to the Pack-a-Punch?
That was Ascension in Russia because it was underneath it. In Moon, you launch the rockets just to kill people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's understandable, I guess, in a very sadistic way where it's like, the people of Earth are better off dead than being minions of Richtofen?
I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's something to think about. So, Zombies was a huge success at this point. So they brought it back. Oh, I forgot to mention, but it's called Zombies now. In Black Ops, they didn't call it Nazi Zombies anymore.
Oh, yeah. They just called it Zombies.
Exactly. And part of the reason is they wanted to appeal more to the German audience.
Oh, yeah, because they didn't want it, because
Germany has a history of not allowing any Nazi insignia, except in cases of art. But Germany does not consider video games art.
Which is dumb.
Exactly. I think they've gotten a bit more lax on it in recent years. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But this was, 2012. Well, that's what we're getting to now. On November 13th, 2012, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was released. And they had zombies again, but this time they completely purged any mention of Nazis.
Oh.
Activision had essentially forbid them from ever mentioning Nazis at all.
Wow.
So the story changes dramatically.
Yep.
This is kind of sad. Black Ops was the peak. Black Ops 2 is the downfall. Because Jimmy Zelensky was still in charge. This is still his era. But you can tell he tried to make like a full world. He wanted zombies to be as big as the main story. But every time they make a Call of Duty game, it's only in the last few months they even have a chance to work on zombies. It's a very last minute kind of thing. And you can definitely tell.
Definitely.
Because the world ended up getting hamstrung. Is that an okay word? What does that word mean?
I don't know.
Whatever. So they released a level called Green Run. Its main mode was called Transit. It took place in Washington State.
All right.
And the apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
After the world had been nuked. And you play as these completely different characters that are survivors of it. And there were only like 5 locations to go to. So it was like this giant level. And there were also technical limitations of the engine.
Yeah.
So they had to add this fog everywhere because the game couldn't process too much information at any given time.
And they had to add the special zombie that would kill you if you went too far into the fog.
You ever play like Turok for Nintendo 64 and how like there's this blue haze wherever you go? That's a common game developer trick to cover up the draw distance. Yeah. Otherwise, you would see that all the objects only appear when they're like 5 feet in front of your face.
Yeah, I know. I heard a lot about that with Silent Hill. They did that.
Oh, did they do the same thing?
Yeah, Silent Hill is almost famous for that because it was just a trick not to see the draw distance, but it ended up creating such a more creepier, adding to the atmosphere that it made the game more creepy and better to people.
And this seemed just like an add-on at the last minute.
Yeah.
And you can tell because Black Ops 2, the main menu was like a whole planet. The idea was you were supposed to explore a whole bunch of other locations. And almost half of them were just in America. So it was a bit of a waste.
Yep.
They did on December 1st, 2012, release a level called Nuketown Zombies. Or just Nuketown.
Yeah, which was Nuketown with as a zombies level, because Nuketown had previously been a level.
Yep, it took place at the same time as Moon, so you were from the perspective of Earth when you get killed by the missiles. Then on February 28th, 2013, they released the Revolution map pack, DLC pack. Now this level was called the Grape Leap Forward, but the actual zombie mode was called Die Rise.
Oh, okay.
Now, I think what they tried to do here is they started trying to name levels after political movements.
Okay.
Because this level takes place in China.
Oh.
And the Grape Leap Forward was when Mao Zedong basically ruined their economy.
Yeah.
So I think a better name would be calling it by the Chinese equivalent of what the Grape Leap Forward was known as, which I believe is Diusion.
Oh, I see.
Because again, I like that. I like that naming structure. And again, you're just in a skyscraper. They decided to completely scrap the whole world mechanic. It's just a single level.
Wow.
So that went nowhere. Mm-hmm. Then in April 16th, 2013, they had the Uprising DLC pack. That came with a new level called Alcatraz Island, where the game mode was known as Mob of the Dead.
Yeah, you played as these 4 prisoners in Alcatraz Island when the zombies break out.
This level was different, though. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Zielinski was essentially kicked off the team.
Oh, really?
He still worked at the company, and he was going to work on more after this. He started working on the next DLC level. Mm-hmm. But for this level, Mob of the Dead, Alcatraz, a new person in Treyarch, or relatively new, Jason Blundell, was put in charge of working on this level.
Oh, okay.
So it has a very different aesthetic vibe to it. Mm-hmm. And they had a lot of high-name actors and everything. It seems like they threw a lot more money at it, to be honest.
All right.
But again, it's just a single level. Mm-hmm. And they completely go satanic with this level.
Oh.
So Nazis bad, but Satan cool.
Oh, yeah, I remember. This is the one with those hellhound things.
Yeah, the devil's a character now.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. And it's in Alcatraz, the worst prison, back in the 30s when it was still active.
Mm-hmm. And then, it's spoilers, but I really like the kind of like the story of this level because, like, it's a loop. Remember? Like, they explain it that they...
Yeah, like it's a temporal loop that they keep, like, when you start off the level, it looks like it's been dilapidated for years, but every time they die, they come back to life and die again. Mm-hmm. So when you started off in the very first cycle, it was probably clean, but now the bodies have just piled up. Mm-hmm. It would have been cooler if you actually saw your own bodies here and there, but
yeah, that would be cool.
But it was an interesting level, but it was a complete like deviation from the storyline.
Oh yes, definitely.
But then in June 2nd, 2013, you had the Vengeance DLC pack, which came with a level called Resolution 1295, and the game mode was known as Buried.
Oh yeah, I didn't like that level.
I love that one. It was fun.
Wait, that was the town.
That
right?
was the western town that had somehow been temporally displaced underneath Africa.
Oh yeah.
In the future, from the past.
I remember that.
I get that kind of feels like a very literal version of cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
But they tried it, whatever. I just liked it because it was arcadey again.
Yeah, I remember that came with the game mode where you could play as a zombie and go after the other players.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, and we've played that once.
Yeah, and then there was just a lot of like extra little nifty features in the level. It was just I had I felt a fun time, and the environment was interesting, being like in a cave, not in an open air. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I liked that level, and it also I liked it, I guess, because it was a finale to the original zombie story. Mm-hmm. You choose between Richtofen and Maxis and who you want to give ultimate power to.
Oh yeah,
and you get 2 different endings based on it. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. Mm-hmm. Both of the endings are terrible. He ends up trying to go back into his body so that he can live a corporeal life once again because he hates not having a body. Mm-hmm. And ends up backfiring and he goes into a zombie body.
Oh, okay.
In the Maxis ending, he destroys the entire universe.
Wow.
And thus leads us to the multiverse concept. Oh, before we go further though, Resolution 1295 was a UN resolution in Angola, which is where the level takes place.
Oh. Okay.
So I think Angolans speak French as their primary language from what I looked up.
Okay.
So we should call it Resolucio 1295.
Ah, I see. Cool.
But that's just a side point I wanted to add. Mm-hmm. On August 27th, 2013, the Apocalypse DLC pack was released. This is when Treyarch basically got rid of Jimmy Zielinski. Mm-hmm. That was the last level he ever designed. Mm-hmm. Now we have Jason Blundell. Mm-hmm. And this brings us to the Jason Blundell era of zombies, otherwise known as the multiverse.
Yep.
Because he decided he didn't want to try to be consistent with the story that was already built. He decided he wanted to retcon it and create alternate universes. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, we'll see how this goes. But I was not a fan of this type of storytelling, and a lot of people, from my experience, weren't. Some people didn't care. Mm-hmm. Basically, what it allowed you to do is to bring back the original 4 characters with Richtofen and his crew. Mm-hmm. But this is in an alternate timeline where it was World War I instead of World War II.
Oh.
This allowed them to explore the First World War, which they had never done before. Also, prevented them from having to use Nazi imagery, and I think that's the real reason they did it.
Ah, I see.
You see? Uh-huh. So, the level is called Excavation Site 64. Uh-huh. The game mode's called Origins. Uh-huh. In German, the name should have been Ausgrabungsstätte.
Okay. This is the one with the giant robot.
Yes, it's an entire alternate history of Group 935, where instead they're run by a council and they existed far earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's still controlled by the German government, just the World War I one, run by the Kaiser.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, and the ending was a twist ending that made no sense. So many people were angry about it. They did the "it was all a dream" kind of thing.
Oh.
Where it was just a game Samantha was imagining playing with her toys.
Yeah.
People were so mad.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Many people dropped off of zombies. That's actually, that's when I dropped off.
Yep.
Yeah, that's when I stopped playing.
Yeah, because I remember playing that level with you, but I don't remember playing any other further levels with you.
Despite that really ridiculous ending, the game franchise had been a huge success. So Activision decided, okay, other companies that work for us besides Treyarch, Infinity Ward, for example, you guys need to make your own bonus modes with creepy crawlies. Mm-hmm. So in November 5th, 2013, Call of Duty Ghosts was released, and they had the new Extinction mode where you would kill aliens.
Oh, wow.
However, that was close but not close enough for the Call of Duty fans. Mm-hmm. Aliens did not cut it. They wanted zombies. Mm-hmm. This is a problem I have, honestly. Like, I'm a zombie fan. If you watch the Zombie Trilogy video till the end, you'll know that we have a zombie car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes people are like, oh, you're a fan of zombies. And I'm like, I'm not a fan of any zombies. Like Walking Dead, pass. Okay? I'm a fan of good zombies. You got to make it worth my time.
Yeah.
I'm not just like, if you put zombies in it, I'll like it. Mm-hmm. I like things that aren't zombies as well. You know? Like, like the zombie story, I feel like has a lot of potential. We should maybe, like I said, we should have an episode on zombies in general.
Oh, yes, definitely.
There's a sense of hopelessness you get to it.
Yeah.
But like with The Walking Dead, there needs to be some point in continuing because they got the hopelessness down, but they don't have any hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really liked zombies. They had this thing called Element 115. That was the chemical that was made, that's what made the zombies possible. Mm-hmm. Group 935 found it. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is that it didn't like...
It wasn't a virus or anything.
Exactly. It was a chemical that reanimated cellular structure. Uh-huh. And because of this reason, the zombies operated very differently than most zombies. Mm-hmm. If you headshot a zombie and knocked their head off, they would keep coming at you.
I know. I remember. You remember me freaking out sometimes when that would happen.
Yes, I do. That was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't the brain controlling it like in most zombie stories. It was the cellular structure itself. Yeah. The only loophole in this, it means if you like knock their arm off, the arm should keep crawling at you. Mm-hmm. But game limitations. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the Aliens was not a big success because it just wasn't zombies. Mm-hmm. So they made sure not to do that again because in November 4th, 2014, Sledgehammer Games, the newest company to join Activision, made Call of Duty Advanced Warfare and came with something called Exozombies. Mm-hmm. The game had exosuits, which were just like exoskeletons for the military. Mm-hmm. But what if the people in them became zombies while wearing them? And that was the game mode.
That's dumb.
I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. We could go deep into some of these alternative stories, multiverse and everything, but let's stick to the main ones.
Yeah.
On January 11th, 2015, the Tencent Corporation in China was given the Call of Duty license by Activision. Uh-huh. And they made a game called Call of Duty Online. It was one of those games where it's like really cheap, but China is such a huge market that even if they sell it for less, they'll make a ton of money. Uh-huh, yeah. But because the Chinese government basically owns the entire corporation market in China, like Tencent, for example, is owned by the government there, mm-hmm. They had to license it out to them. Mm-hmm. They ended up making cyborg zombies. Oh. It wasn't really bad. However, it seemed very plagiarized. Mm-hmm. They basically took assets from all of the previous Call of Duty games and mishmashed them together into their own new game and had cyborg zombies. Solely because in China, it was against the law to have blood spilling.
Wow. Okay.
At least at the time. I think they might have laxed on that a little bit. But, China's always very strict with what media comes into their country. So, then in November 6, 2015, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 was released, which took place much further in the future, but that didn't matter for zombies. They decided to do their own storyline completely separate for zombies.
Yeah.
Although I should mention there was a Nightmares mode that was released, which was an alternate version of the future story in Call of Duty Black Ops 3, but with zombies.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it had Element 115. So again, multiverse.
Yep.
I mean, I don't hate multiverses so much. In fact, those alternate stories where it's just like, let's see what else we can do with the zombie franchise. What other stories can we tell? I like Nightmares for that reason. But then this is the game where they decided, let's not just do alternate universes. Let's retcon everything. They started doing alternate versions of pre-existing levels. That way, they could just re-release the same levels each time.
Yeah.
So in Black Ops 3, well, this is around this time is when about half the levels start just being remakes of older levels. They add a little bit of story to it just to get you to try to play it and figure it out. I didn't play any of these levels, to be honest. I refused to buy Black Ops 3 because I didn't want to support this business practice. Also, the pre-order pack was a huge ripoff, and I did not want to support that.
Oh, yeah.
We should have an episode about how pre-orders are a scam designed to ruin the experience for the consumer.
Yeah, definitely.
Put that on the list. Anyway, the first level that came with it, this is something that Call of Duty does now, where every time they release a game, the zombies level that comes with it is completely new and completely separate from the main story. It's a brand new experience for people who don't know zombies to get into it. And then it turns out, oh wait, it was related all along. It was an alternate story that branches. So it took place in Morgue City, yeah.
Can I tell this one because I remember it?
Sure, the game mode was known as Shadows of Evil.
Yes. Basically, the story was these 4 people who each wanted something to progress in their careers.
In the 40s.
Yeah, in the 40s.
In an alternate universe version of Chicago.
Yes. They made a deal with the devil, basically, to get what they wanted at a cost. And now they're all they were all blackmailed by the deal they made. And now they have to fight zombies because they're bad people who kill people.
I may have mocked this level for the obviously ridiculous claims they made of it being a separate story. But I actually do really like the aesthetic of this level.
Yeah.
It's not much fun to play because it's like so large you're just going to die. But they decided to add Lovecraftian mythos to the story.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out the devil was essentially, Devil Cthulhu. And they had that whole mythos, and basically by the end of the story, Richtofen pops in, takes something from them, and leaves. And they all just die.
Yeah.
Happy, the end, whatever. So, also, they released a pre-order pack for Der Riese. Now, the giant, that level was remade.
Of course.
And yeah, basically they introduced the idea of this time in Black Ops 3, Richtofen's whole mission is going to kill alternate versions of themselves.
Okay.
So World War I Richtofen kills World War II Richtofen.
Okay.
Again, they want to wipe any Nazi trace. By the way, in this alternate history of World War II, Nazis aren't a thing.
Wow.
It's the German Empire. They completely erased the Nazi movement.
Wow.
And I get why they want to do that. They might even call that being progressive. I think it's actually very conservative. I think that's actually a really terrible thing. You're whitewashing history at that point.
Yeah. Which is awful because it's you need to acknowledge that this happened.
And again, Germany, this is why not considering video games art is so problematic, because you're enabling these companies to essentially whitewash history. And February 2nd, 2016, the Awakening DLC pack was released. And that's where we got a new level called Der Eisendrache, which is German for the Iron Dragon. They brought the naming convention back.
Okay.
That's the best thing Black Ops 3 did.
Yeah, all right.
And this was a new Group 935 base, a much more militarized version.
Oh, cool.
Where they actually started fighting on World War II in the front lines. And we got to get some more information. They decided to blow up the moon to prevent that level from ever happening. And I'm like, you prevented the best level. Alternate universe, I said. Tank was killed in that level.
Oh, yeah.
One version of him, not like it matters. April 19th, 2016, the Eclipse DLC pack was released, which gave us the level Zetsubo no Shima, Japanese for Island of the Dead.
Cool.
It was kind of a remake of Shinonuma, but much more expanded.
I think Shima is the Japanese word for dead, or something similar to that, because it's been in all the Japanese titles.
Derivations thereof.
Yeah.
This level, Takeo died.
Yeah.
They talked about like the Japanese wing of Group 935 called Division 9. And June 12th, 2016, the Descent DLC was released. And that's when we got the Gorod Krovi level, which took place in Stalingrad. And that was Russian for City of Blood.
Was that where all the crazy stuff happened?
That's where they had dragons.
Yeah,
Because they genetically engineered dragons.
Yeah, I remember you complaining about that.
Yeah, this is something, I mean, Bethesda does the same thing in Fallout 76, but game companies will go to such extents to just justify having dragons. Anyway, the entire point of this level is an alternate history where the World War III was basically happening shortly after World War II. Or World War II really never ended, and it was dragons versus giant robots. Stalingrad's where everything was going down. Stalingrad's known as St. Petersburg now, by the way.
Oh, okay.
It's the same city, it's just what the Germans called it. So it was in contention between Germany and Russia. Germany was using Group 935 as a militarized faction. By this point, all the leaders, like Richtofen had killed his World War II self, right? Maxis still died. So there was no one to lead it besides just the Germans themselves.
Oh, I see.
So that didn't go well.
No.
Basically, the entire world ends, and they kill Nikolai there. So by this point, all of the alternate versions in this particular timeline are killed. Then in September 6, 2016, they had the Salvation DLC pack, which brought the new level Revelations.
Oh, is that with... Oh, yeah, I remember.
This is where they decide to go fight the devil, basically. And God is on their side, because God shows up.
Yeah, I remember.
He's an old Caucasian British man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And basically, this level is a mishmash of much of the previous levels. Not all of them. They left out a lot of them, but about half of them.
Yep.
And I thought that was really cool, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't really mentioned it, but every single one of these has a quest. So all those things that we're talking about, you have to work for like 3 hours to find out what happens.
Yeah.
With 4 people. So by the end of Revelations, essentially the universe gets rebooted or something.
Or something.
Yeah.
They never explained.
They didn't fully explain it until the next game.
Ah, all right.
There's also a comic that was released that you had to read to fully understand it. Again, I talked a lot about this in my Zombie Trilogy documentary, so if you want to learn more about that, you can find it there. But this is right about where my documentary cuts off, because I released this, and it was not long after that they decided to release more content. On May 16th, 2017, which is almost a full year later, this is the first time they ever released a DLC a year later from the game.
Yeah.
They released something called Zombie Chronicles, which remade Nashdaran Toon, Varrock, Shinonuma, Kinoder Toten, Ascension, Shangri-La, Moon, and Origins.
Yep.
Just what they consider to be the fan favorite levels. They decided to add like a bit of extra story and explore the multiverse concept some more. So that's kind of where the limit of my knowledge resides.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about those, I would look up there. Honestly, I don't think it's even completely fully explained what the whole multiverse concept is going.
Yeah.
Because I think we've demonstrated enough by now that Treyarch acts like, oh yeah, we got some big masterful story plan, like Jason Blundell, he does that. Right? And really, it's like, you have absolutely no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
You are making this up as you go.
Yep.
That's why they never explain anything. Now they have Richtofen as that. Richtofen's now like essentially the Caucasian mysterious god character. That's like, oh, I work in mysterious ways and can't tell you what I'm doing. When really it's like, it's because you don't know. You're just winging this. In fact, that's what the original Richtofen in World War II did.
Yeah.
So I don't buy that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some extra stuff in here that might be worth checking into if you really want to know more about the story. I do recommend the Zombie Trilogy to at least get an idea of prior to Black Ops 4 what we thought the story was. But since now they're in a mode where they just keep retconning and doing alternate universes, there's going to be some things wrong because they retconned it. You know, like they barely even talk about the original Marines that were in the first 2 levels. So again, you can see why I kind of jumped off the ship, because it's just so much work to keep paddling alongside them and trying to keep up with them. They release new content every so many months.
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
Yeah. And then Zombie Chronicles, they released that a year later, and I was just so frustrated. There's an official timeline they have now, so you can go read that if you want to get a little bit more info. So I should just catch this up to the present day. On November 4th, 2016, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare was released by Infinity Ward, and they had Spaceland Zombies.
Okay.
They did a whole like retro 80s theme to it with its own unique story.
All right.
I never really got into it, but again, completely separate story. I approve of that.
Yeah.
And then on November 3rd, 2017, Sledgehammer Games released Call of Duty World War II with Nazi zombies.
Oh.
Because, like I said, by this time, Germany's not so strict on the Nazi paraphernalia. Either that or they just didn't care. And I honestly, it might be better than the original Nazi zombies for all I know.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because this game was not afraid to show concentration camps. They definitely did not whitewash the history. So the zombie mode, remember, they even had female playable characters.
Oh yeah, they did.
So if you want a short experience, I recommend that one. But we're not going to go into the story for that one here. Maybe another episode. So October 12th, 2018, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Zombies was released.
I should mention that they did four tallies instead of the Roman numeral IV.
Math. That's going to come back to bite them if they ever make a Call of Duty 5 or Black Ops 5.
Yeah.
Black Ops 17, and it's just like 17 tallies. So this level is different, or this game is different. They didn't make a story mode for the game.
Oh, really?
But apparently that gave them enough resources to make a few extra zombies levels. There are 4 zombie levels that comes with this game. As of the recording of this episode, there is no DLC content for this game.
Yeah.
So they did the whole thing again where it's like, brand new level, completely unrelated to the storyline. You can just jump in if you've never played zombies before and not have to worry about keeping up with the story. And, I mean, come on, it's probably going to relate back to it when they release the DLC.
Yeah.
But it's called Voyage of Despair. It takes place on the Titanic.
Despair.
Danganronpa.
Yeah.
But it takes place on the Titanic. And you play as these people, these patrons on the Titanic. They end up going like definite occult, magic, supernatural, no science whatsoever.
Okay.
They end up going through this portal that will, at the end of the level, they go through the portal, which begins the second level, which is called IX, the Roman numeral for 9. So they know what Roman numerals are.
Yeah, they just...
But again, like it's called 9, but it should have been called the Roman. Like people should pronounce it as Novum.
Oh, because it's Rome.
Exactly.
You know what? Maybe that's why they decided to actually put the right Roman numeral in this one, because it's in Rome.
Maybe that's what they intend, but people just don't do it.
Yeah.
And so in that level, they fight in Rome, which is different. I'll give them props for that. And at the end of the quest, you know what happens? They all get executed by Romans.
Wow. Okay.
Happily ever after.
Yep.
The next level is Blood of the Dead, which is a complete remake of Mob of the Dead.
Okay.
And Richtofen has suddenly come upon another story. Oh, I forgot to mention this, but after Origins ended with that complete... no, it's not Origins. Revelations.
Yeah.
After they rebooted the world and whatnot, it said the end on it. And this is what all the marketing material was. Like, see, Revelation, see the conclusion of the zombie storyline. Treyarch lied.
Yeah.
They
like
always
they
will.
always do.
They always will.
Yeah.
They lied. Every time they say this is going to end, Activision's like, money.
Yep.
So it was supposed to be the end of the story. And they used the Roman stuff to try to fake you out. Like, we're doing a different story now. Nope. They remade or Mob of the Dead as Blood of the Dead.
Wow.
And the story, you know what it is?
What?
Richtofen's killing his alternate selves.
Again.
Why? Trust me.
That's stupid.
So we'll figure out what his plan is, I guess. Oh, actually, wait, no. He wants to kill God.
Oh.
I forgot about that part.
Okay.
So that's why.
Okay.
The next level is called Classified. It's a remake of 5. And again, multiverse. It does a new timeline of the moon timeline, where the moon wasn't destroyed.
It's dumb.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Although, part of me wants to play a remake of 5 just for the gameplay of it. But I would never do the quest.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. You can just look it up on YouTube. In fact, a whole secondary market around this game has appeared just around YouTube users who do the quest so other people don't have to.
Yep.
And I feel like if you're relying on YouTube as a crutch for your game to even be playable, so for people to even experience the quest, you didn't do it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's where we have to leave off because we're running out of time. I guess I could give more opinions, but we've kind of littered the episode with them.
Yep.
I'm sorry I did so much of a talking, Kira. I just have more of a background in this.
Oh, no, it's fine. I mean, you just really, really care more about something.
I know. I had so much invested.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's good to have a critical eye even to the things that you loved.
Absolutely.
I think I've talked enough, so I'm just going to stop. I'm done. I'm Kyle. Bye. But why don't you sign off? Any thoughts you want to have to leave us off on?
I feel like they could have done much better with zombies, and they just kind of shat all over it and failed. So yeah, it sucks. But I'm Kira. We're Game Theorem. We have a bunch of social media. Bye.
We have social media throughout the multiverse. Bye.
Bye.